SprintCarUnlimited.com, coming to you from Port Royal Speedway. It's a 410 opener up here, and we're here with second place finisher Brock Zerfrost. Brock led a lot of laps, just too many restarts, and then Mackri was able to get you.
Yeah, our car was really good, even in traffic, but just kind of struggled on the initial start. Just needed to, I don't know, I was trying a bunch of different things to kind of get it up on the pipe earlier. Just didn't work out. So yeah, we'll look at that motor and see where we can improve on that area. But I mean, the car was phenomenal. I mean, even in traffic, just could pick and choose lines where I needed to go. And once we got going, I feel like we had the car to win. It's just you know, Anthony was in the right spot at the right time on a restart, and you know, even when he got by us there, he really didn't pull away. So front wing kind of let loose with, I don't know, a handful of laps to go, but I actually feel like we kind of got a little bit better, which I really got to stop making a habit of running with no front wings or stuff like that. But nonetheless, even on a big track like this, our car still handled good, even with it, you know, in the wrong position or whatever you want to call it. But salvage the second. It's a good start to our season here. Still a long season to go, so we'll keep working hard at it, and our time will come.
Yeah, I mean, this is your second start in this car, I believe. Going back and forth, what's that like, and are you pleased with how things are going so far, even though, you know, you only have 2 starts in this thing?
Yeah, obviously I'm really pleased with you know, how Rich has been with us, and you know, providing everything that we need to that we feel we can win with. So it's not much different going back and forth between cars. Our cars are pretty much the same. So that was what was nice with Rich. He allowed us to buy parts and things that we needed that were close enough to what our car is. So it would just cut down the learning curve with these cars a lot faster. So very happy. Wanted to get Rich a win for sure, obviously, but you know, you hate starting a pole going second. But our car has speed here. It's really nice to be back at Port Royal and run up front again. And I'm excited for the season to come here. So I know we could have won this race, but there's a lot of races left this season, and I'm sure we'll win a few.
How difficult is that? You know who was behind you with 9 to go on that restart. You never know what he's going to do. What was your thinking on that restart, and kind of how did you approach that, and would you change anything?
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, I was kind of sit and duck, really. The way our motor was taking off there was just kind of a little bit lazy, and I needed to have a perfect restart, and we didn't. And you know, I tried to fake like I was just going to commit to the top and just kind of pull off a little bit, maybe mess him up, but he was already committed to, and did what he needed to do. I mean, it was a clean pass, and truthfully, I got turned to come down early enough, but we got just kind of balled up in some of them big old chunks of mud up there, and just kind of lifted the front off the ground, and that was the race. So needed to maybe get into traffic and have him kind of get mixed up with a car or two, but I kind of feel like once he got in front of us, like I kind of felt like I started coming back to him a little bit in 3 and 4 for sure, but you know, just ran out laps, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. That's racing, but you know, you can't hang your head with second or third race in the car with Rich and almost get him a win. So we'll keep digging here, and hopefully we're on top of the podium here next couple weeks.
You know, running the Outlaws can beat you up. You seem revitalized going into this year, or maybe a little. Kind of how do you approach this year, and how much are you looking forward to this season just to get back on track?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, the Outlaws is the toughest there is, but you know, to compete and win, you have to be perfect every night, and we just weren't. We were, you know, getting our butts kicked, and there's nothing to hang our heads about. I mean, I feel like our car was pretty good some nights, and then some nights, but you know, we struggled. But you know, that's part of racing with the Outlaws. You're going to have good and bad nights. It's how you overcome them. And you know, a lot of people just think that we're, you know, just out there wasting money, but really, our team is really good. Our car is good enough to do it. We just we're lacking in the crew chief department, and had the opportunity to get Jim, so I had to change the schedule up a little bit and do this deal. And you know, it's nice to be home a little bit more and spend some time with family and Kaylee, and you know, just kind of relax a little bit, I guess you could say, and not have to beat up and down the road, beat your body up, and lose a lot of sleep. You know, you get to sleep in your own bed. So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for this year, but you know, obviously disappointed today to lose the win, but I know our car has speed here, and I'm excited to come back next week.
Congratulations on a solid run.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, SprintCarUnlimited.com coming from Port Royal Speedway. We're here with, I guess, the 410 opener winner, Anthony Mackri. Anthony, back at Port Royal, it's got to feel good to get a win, especially after some struggles on the road.
Yeah, it's obviously it's no secret how well we've been doing, and we've just been terrible point blank, honestly. And we just last week we kind of made a decision to get a different car down from upstairs, and we were better, and just needed a tweak from there. And honestly, today in the beginning of the day we weren't phenomenal, but we just kept working at it, and the track kind of got technical there in the feature, kind of played into my hands. I like Port Royal when it's a little technical like that. So just had a good car. I mean, we were tight in the beginning, and I knew that would probably give us a chance at the end there, and just kind of kept working with my wing and got ourselves in position there. And honestly, if it wasn't for that red, Brock was probably going to win, but just got a really good restart after that red and slid him and kind of just protected there, and just held on for the win.
Car was really good on that bottom middle, through 3 and 4, and then obviously did some damage. We're able to slide him in 1 and 2. The car just got better and better as the race went on.
Yeah, that's how our car is. That's how I know when we have a good car. It's that's normally how our car acts at Port Royal. Normally as the feature goes on, we get better and better, and like I said, it's just track kind of played into that favor there, and because of the track, kind of had to adjust my line and do the slider line. So yeah, we had a good car. It's one race. I'm not going to get overly excited about it, but I feel like we're heading in the right direction, and hopefully we stay in the right direction.
What were some of the problems on the road? Was it qualifying, just not being good? And I think some people maybe underestimate how good the Outlaws are as well.
Yeah, it's just, obviously we were running a car that was repaired from the first time we were down there, and sometimes when you get a car repaired, doesn't act the same. So we just tried to keep working with it, and it just didn't work, and as a result, we weren't time trialing, and we weren't racing, and we were basically just there to participate, which was really frustrating, and it gets to your head pretty quick, and when you're on the road and you can't time trial or heat race, and you are against stiff competition like that, it's difficult mentally, and it's hard to go into the next race with a positive attitude, but you just got to do it and keep plugging away, and it was hard, I'm not gonna lie, and we changed cars, and it was, I don't want to say night and day, but we were way better, and we knew we had something to work with then. So coming home, we kind of tried some different things to kind of try to head in the right direction, and towards the end of the day it worked. Earlier today it wasn't ideal, but it is, like I said, it's one race, so I'm not going to get overly excited about it, but it gives us some confidence back.
Last thing, how much was this needed just to get the mental part of this back on track, to come back home, Port Royal, place you've done so well at in the past? This was probably, I don't want to say must win, it's so early in the year, but it probably
must win.
Okay,
I felt like it was a must win. Mentally I was pretty worn out, but I really don't even know how to describe it, but it was pretty vital for me to get a good run here soon. Not necessarily just a win, but at least a good finish where we're going forward, and we got that, and hopefully that boosts the morale of the team a little bit, and it just kind of gives us the pep in the step to keep working at it.
All right, well, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Welcome to another edition of SprintCarUnlimited.com Live. a show for the fans. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're in the chat, you're calling, whatever the case may be. I want to apologize in advance for my voice. It's Vegas, baby. I guess still recuperating from a cold out there, and a lot of topics to hit on. And I'm going to jump before we get to the chat, before we get to the phone lines. I'm going to hit on some of the storylines from the weekend. We don't have a fuel issue. We don't have any controversy that I know of. Maybe rubber up track, but that's about it. But I didn't want to start with David Gravel, but it's kind of difficult when he sweeps the weekend at Cotton Bowl to run his World of Outlaws win total to 5 on the season in 12 events. He already has an 82-point lead over the field, and he seems to be stretching it out by the week. So the series heads to Lawton and 81 Speedway this week, and I'm sure David Gravel will be in the running. So if you want to talk about that, we can. Heading back to Central Pennsylvania, Anthony Mackri also came home and made it count. He started 7th in the field and stormed to the win, passing Brock Zierfoss for his first win of the season. This was much needed. He was struggling on the road, apparently with a repaired race car. Before the Outlaw shows at Kennedale the week before, they pulled down a new car. He had a pair of top 10s, set quick time one night. Then he comes back to Port Royal and gets the feature win. Little home cooking. So it's going to be interesting to see if Anthony Mackri can ride that wave into this weekend. Aaron Reitzel, we said he's going to be a factor with High Limit. He gets his first High Limit win of the season this week, albeit on a rubbered up racetrack at Paris Auto Speedway. Not good. About 8 to 10 laps in, that thing was pretty much toast. Tanner Holmes gave him a little bit of a run there, and Aaron pulled away. Tanner blew a tire. I think we're going to have Tanner Holmes possibly on the podcast this week. I'm working on that now. But Aaron Reitzel, looking good. It was a huge win for Aaron because just a week, 8 days earlier, he broke his nose in Las Vegas. So get off the schneid, so to speak, get that first win under his belt in the first 4 races. I think he's going to win 6 to 8 races this year with the series. So if you want to talk about that, we can hit on that as well. Speaking of High Limit, Brad Sweet looks pretty good. He has 4 podiums and 4 starts with the series. Ty Wolfgang, got to give him credit. New crew chief, he's really adapting to that role quick, and there seems to be chemistry there already. I'm not saying that that's a surprise because he has been with the team, but I think to be this quick this early, I think that means a lot for Wolfgang. I know he worked in the offseason. He got started early on building cars. So again, this team's not missing a beat, and they're already up by 45 points in the standings. So those are the storylines this week. We're going to go right to the chat, the phones. What do we got going? All right. First question from Ed. I hope this week is starting out better for you, Jeremy. Yes, but no. It was getting better, and then some voice issues, but here we are. We're here, and that's all that counts. So, Dan, does Gravel get 25 Woo wins this year? Ooh, I think he definitely gets 20. There's going to be some ebb and flow. Okay, there's a lot of parity in this sport. I think there's going to be stretches where he doesn't win. I know that's hard to maybe say now because he's winning a little, just a tick under 50%. But like last year, struggled a little bit after, through August and September. That allowed Carson Macedo to close the gap. So I'm not saying they're going to challenge him for the championship. I'm saying there's going to be some races that he might struggle a little bit. So, but I'll say 20. I'll definitely say 20. I do not think he catches Doug Wolfgang in the, he has to get, I think 30 some wins. I don't think he cracks 30, and 25 is a bit of a stretch. A lot of young talent out there as well. Buddy Kofoid's getting faster. Gio's getting faster. Carson Macedo's still there. Logan Schuhart's going to win soon here as well. So what else do we got? Okay, Randy, any info on Poncho's Racing Parts sprint car team running in the near future? I expect, I did some checking into that. I've not gotten an answer on it yet. I got a call down there. I don't think you'll see it this weekend. I think it's going to take a little bit of time, but it won't be too far in the near future. I'd say maybe in the next month and a half. Not sure who the driver is going to be. So again, I'm checking on it. Just haven't gotten that far. Like I said, it's been a rough week. That's on me. Sorry, guys. Michael, can you explain for the social media idiots financially what it costs to open the gates at a racetrack and why they cancel early? Ooh, how much time do we have? Look, there's fixed costs. I'll take you through this step by step. There's fixed costs, even if they don't race. Electric, full-time employees, your track maintenance people, so on and so forth. Your advertising, your fuel for the water truck during the week when you're watering the track. Those are all fixed costs. You have them every week, whether you race or not. When you open those gates and you let people in and you have your employees there, you're looking at between $14,000 and $17,000 worth of expenses before you even get to the purse. Think about that number. That's employees, insurance, which is a fixed cost as well. You have your lights, you have your food, you have all that stuff under overhead. That's before you even get to the purse. So now you add, let's say, a $23,000 purse just from nice round numbers, which Port Royal, I believe, is 25, 26. And obviously the operating costs go up at a half mile as opposed to a short track. So you're looking between $40,000 and $45,000 to cover that. And if the weather's a little sketchy, if it's going to be cold, windy, you're not going to make that nut. You're taking a loss. So yes, it is not as simple as, hey, we're just going to roll the dice and take a loss. Look, and I always look at it this way. There's 100 people maybe 100 people on social media complaining. You can't run a racetrack with 100 people showing up. So, it also means less car count too. Teams aren't going to come out and run. Your fringe teams aren't going to come out and run in the wind or cold temperatures early in the year. And they're going to save their stuff. They're going to pick the better of 2 days over a weekend or whatever. It's going to hurt your car count, which again hurts your back gate. So yes, Michael, it's definitely riverboat gambling if you're a promoter these days. Okay, what else do we? Randy, any word on Austin Hogue after his bad crash at a go-kart at Hunterstown? He did respond today. The CT scan went, I guess, well. There's a post on the Dottie's Family Market Facebook page. I definitely want to send prayers out to Austin Hogue and the family. He's a part of they are a part of our platform as well at SprintCarUnlimited.com. Great family. They do a lot for the racing community, entrenched in this community. Bad crash last week at Hunterstown in a go-kart. Again, he has a blood on the brain. It did not get worse, which is they got the best news they could possibly get today, and our thoughts and prayers are with them. So we're hoping for a full recovery. Ed, Jeremy, tell us about SprintCarUnlimited.tv. Is a subscription required? And if so, how much is it? No, we go race by race. This is a question that I get a lot. And the reason we don't do a subscription is because we directly share revenue with the racetrack. So whoever purchases the broadcast that night, the racetrack gets a percentage of the proceeds. So, and the reason we do that, we want them to get their fair share of people watching. I know people like the subscription. I know it's a little more expensive on our platform. Basically, we set it at about $2.99 or so more than gate price. We protect the track. We want people to go to the track. Again, if you can't make it to the track, we want to be an alternate. We want to be kind of that alternative. If you can't make it, we do not want to be the main choice. Again, we want to protect the racetrack. We want to give them their fair share, so we do individual pay-per-views. That's why we do it. All right, Randy, I'm hearing Sisney has a ride lined up. Any info available? Nothing as of yet. I checked last week as over the weekend, and I have not heard anything, albeit there was some rumbling about possibly getting in a certain local car, but I'm not going to say anything yet because I have not got it. I have not gotten it confirmed. As soon as the show's over, I will make a phone call on that. Over the weekend, though, I heard rumblings, but nothing firm. All right. Okay. Oh, I thought it'd be Dr. Midnight. Any health updates on Wayne Harper? No. That's been pretty it's been pretty under lock and key, so to speak. So I think he'll be back at some point. I know he's dealing with health issues. I know he was sick, and Steve Inch is filling in. No word on when he will be back, unfortunately. The voice of Lincoln Speedway. All right, John. First off, live show. Keep up the good work. What's your pick? What's your pick? Your pick best racing this weekend? Go to Porter Lincoln. I mean, I think it could be either or. I don't know where cars are going to go. That's the thing. I think it's going to be split. I think you'll have Mackri up at Port. I think you'll have Chase Dietz up at Port. I think Dietrich go to Lincoln. Freddie Raymer will go to Lincoln. Sorry, I had to plug in the computer. It's going to be split. I think the interesting thing is what the car counts are going to be. Because, as I said a couple weeks ago, it seems like the guys who are going to run these tracks on a regular basis is down. There's going to be a lot of moving around. Now, you'll have the Wagners up at Port Royal. I think you'll have Mackri up at Port Royal. I think you'll have Chase Dietz at Port Royal. I think you'll have Dietrich and Raymer at Lincoln this week. So it's going to kind of be split. And I don't know. The weather's supposed to be really nice this week. It could depend, too, on Williams Grove. Williams Grove goes Friday. So do guys go Friday night and don't go Saturday? I don't know. The weather, and we have BAPS this week as well on Sunday. Weather looks a little sketchy, but it's very early in the week. So not sure. Any info on why Freddie had to go through the scales twice at Lincoln, had to get some mud on the tires to add weight? Only thing I saw. No, I checked with Lincoln Speedway. I checked with the officials there. He did make weight the second time. It's just the way they just rolled him around. Nobody touched the car. He was over by a good amount from what I'm told. And I was told that by 2-3 different officials. So there's nothing nefarious going on there. So they just rolled him around. Scott, I think there's going to be 10 plus wins from high limit drivers plus Larson in the Woo schedule. That will make the 30 wins extremely difficult. Yeah, and the other thing is, and I stated this, and I got to give credit to Jovan Schriltz, who I mentioned. A friend of mine gave me the stuff for the 90 at 9 this morning. He broke that down and sent it over to me, and I did a 90 at 9 on it this morning about the points. Look, the fields are deeper at these big. There's more big shows, which means deeper fields. Your higher paying shows, your Husitts, your Kings Royal, stuff like this. We have more big shows. These high limit guys are going to be ducking in and out. The competition's going to be stiffer. I think the group of young drivers is also better than it was maybe years ago. So 30 wins is going to be really hard. And again, there's ebb and flow to a season. Gravel's white hot right now. Hasn't been out of the top 5. I'm sure he's going to go through a stretch. Doesn't draw well. It doesn't matter in time trials, though. He seems to lay down good laps, but he's going to draw poorly in the dash. But that hasn't stopped him so far. Not every, 3 of his wins he didn't start on the pole. So he started 4th last week. So again, I just think there's going to be some ebb and flow to the season. I think Larson's going to steal a few. I think high limit guys are going to steal a few. I think Macedo is going to get hot. Buddy's starting to get better. I think these guys will catch up a little bit. And I do think he gets 20, though. And I do think he leads the country and wins. All right. Okay, Jim from Buffalo on line 1. Jim, what do you got for me?
Oh, hey, Jeremy. Glad you're feeling a little bit better.
Well enough.
Good. I tell you what, where that track is located up there, right off the interstate, that thing is a wind tunnel. Holy crap! I mean, even when it's warm out, that wind never stops. Jeez.
No, it does not.
But one thing I wanted to touch on, and I think I sent you something this week, but I tell you, I've been impressed with two guys we didn't really think we're going to get much out of on the Outlaw Trail this year, and that's Chris Wyndham and Zach Hampton. I think they're finally starting to get it, and I think they're in good hands. I mean, you got Jason Sides and Bill Rose there to kind of groom them and everything. And I think especially Hampton, he's starting to become a race car driver and less than a moving pylon out there. He seems to be under control. I mean, you seeing something like that?
You know, I was thinking about this yesterday with Wyndham. A year ago, he had 69 starts with, for the season. He had 7 top 10s. And I think 4 of them were IRA Maverick races. This year, he has 12 World of Outlaws starts, and he has 4 top 10s already. So, okay, the theory out there is, okay, it's harder to get in the top 5 with the Outlaws, but easier to get in the top 10 than it is with High Limit. I don't know if that's true now with the rookie class with the Outlaws. So, look, the fact that he has 4 top 10s this early in the season, I'm going to give him credit for that. So for Wyndham. So I think Wyndham, at the very least, it's an uptick. Absolutely. Now he's finishing 8th, 9th, 10th. He has not finished in the top 7 yet. But he's passing cars. If you look at his plus minus and features, it looks better. So I definitely think there's an uptick there. Zach Hampton, I think the key is there. I mean, what's the one thing we remember about Zach Hampton? Flipping over the fence twice over at Williams Grove last year in October. He's not doing that. He has, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he had a 7th this year. He drove from like 22nd to 7th in an Outlaw show already this year in Bill Rose's car. So I think Zach Hampton is learning to keep it on 4 wheels, when to take a chance, when not to take a chance. And I think his plus minus is way up as well. So I'm going to get, to me, Zach Hampton's the more impressive of the 2 right now, simply because of the team. And I think we probably expected less of him than Chris Wyndham. So yeah, no, I'm going to give him, keep an eye on him. We'll keep an eye on him. But I think Zach Hampton has definitely made maybe the most gains in that he's finishing races.
Yeah, I think he's finally starting to learn that it's really good to be able to roll the car into the trailer after the night's over. So, anyway,
no doubt that's Bill Rose also saying, hey, I want my car in one piece.
But another thing too, what's up with Justin Sanders? Holy cow. If he didn't have bad luck this year, he wouldn't have any luck at all. I mean, he's snake bitten. I mean, I love the guy and he's fast, but gee whiz, what's going on?
Well, and again, I think too, look, I'm going to say that Justin Sanders is the best sprint car driver in California. That doesn't change for me after 4 races or 5 races. It's not like he forgot how to drive or anything. It's, it's a bad stretch. They lack some speed, had some problems that they're working out, some things that were wrong with the car. It happens. It happens to the best teams. Look, Brad Sweet went 35 races last year without winning. If somebody would have said, hey, I'll bet you $100 Brad Sweet doesn't win for 35 races, everybody in the country would have taken that bet and said, you're crazy, but it happened. So I just think Justin's going through a rough start now, and I think he'll pick up the pace and he'll start winning. And look, I'm going to say it. That 4SA, wait till he jumps into 4SA. That's all I got to say. I love that car.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm cheering for the guy. I love his style and everything. And
yeah,
I don't know who the Brad guy is you're talking about, but anyways, that's another thing for another day. But hey,
your outlaws love, your outlaws love, Jim.
Hey,
showing through.
Well, one thing too, though, on your weekly podcast there, we need to get your secret agent from the West Coast, old Jovan, on there. It's been a while, so.
Yep.
See if we can get him on there. That guy's connected. I really enjoy it when you have it on there, and I'm glad you feel better. And I'll keep listening. Have a great week. Bye.
Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate the call. That's Jim from Buffalo. Thank you again for calling. What else do we got here? We're going to keep moving on. Jump the cushion. Any thoughts on Caleb Montgomery? He was fantastic with high limit over the weekend. Fantastic. That's a adjective that I usually I don't usually throw that one around very much. He was good. I like Caleb Montgomery, and it's been again up and down a little bit, where he was pretty good and he was on the uptick, and then he kind of leveled off, and then it, kind of like Joel Myers, same thing, just up and down. I'd like to see him more. I think, look, California produces this younger talent. I don't know how old he is, but I'm just assuming he's young. And look, you learn to race out there. It's giddy up. You got to race every lap, no laps off. Guys like that do well against national touring guys. I think Caleb Montgomery, I'd like to see him, see more of him. Somebody give him a shot out there. I like those guys. Scott, does Tanner Holmes win a race? How many? I'm trying to get Tanner Holmes on the show this week because I've never talked to Tanner Holmes. I've interviewed him, I think, for a story, but I've never had him on the podcast. So I'd be interested to talk to him. Look, he's having a decent start. But the same thing I said about Sanders, I'm going to say about Tanner Holmes. It's a small sample size. He's timed well. I've looked at his feature results. Look, he was running second in the high limit show, had a flat. So that kind of doesn't, the result isn't indicative of how he ran. He's timing well. That's what I like. He timed well against high limit. He had a couple top fives against high limit. I think he drove from 11th to 5th or 4th in one of the races. Good. Vegas, he was going, he was driving into the top 10 when he had a flat. I think he had 2 of them. So I think he wins a couple races. I think Justin Sanders is going to win some races. I think Tanner Holmes wins maybe 2 or 3. He's in a good car. Drew Warner's a good crew chief. He should win some races. And I think too, I think Tanner not having to work on the car and he can be a driver, I think that helps. I think we see that with Sanders. Sanders works on the car. How would it be if they didn't have to work on the car? So I think that's going to help Tanner. Am I ready to anoint him the king of California? No, can't do that. It's only a few races, but he's looked decent so far. Obviously, had a good showing against high limit. So I think he wins a couple races, 2, 3, something like that. I don't know how much local he's going to run, like a local show out there. So we'll see. Okay, John, after Gravel gets bored with the Outlaws and 25 plus wins, you think he'll choose a chase the money type deal? Does that mean high limit? Or does that mean pick and choose? I don't think you'll ever see Gravel do a pick and choose. The only way I think Gravel would do a pick and choose if he expands his family and family life. He wants the ability to take a weekend off or so. And maybe high limit can provide that for him as well, because they only run 60 right now their schedule's roughly 60 races. So maybe that's in his future. I think there's a lot up in the air with this franchise system. You can sell those. So they're giving away 6 of them this year. Who's to say Todd Quiring doesn't buy one? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but he could buy one from a team like Book Motorsports or somebody else. Just say, hey, and purchase one. So I think everything's on the table because of the increased money. David Gravel's a business guy. He's a money guy. He's already doing it for a living. So, but I think where he runs could depend on family. Are they going to expand their family? Or again, the money angle. I don't think he's going to get bored winning. David Gravel does not get bored winning ever. So who knows where he ends up? I think everything's on the table. Kinzer, do you know what is the first race on the schedule when the High Limit and Woo meet up against each other? Maybe Huset's. I'm not sure without looking when they could merge again. That I wish I could answer that. I know Huset's, yes. That'll be the first major race. I think that'll be the first big race. But, to me, the favorite at Huset's is Outlaw Guys. David Gravel and Buddy Kofoid and Sheldon Hodenshield. They're your favorites at Huset's. Top 3, in my opinion. So, I haven't memorized the schedules yet. That's on me. I apologize. But yes, Huset's in June would be one where you see high limit guys at the High Bank Nationals. I think you could see it earlier though. Okay. Any word on Craig Kinzer? 0.0. And that means even answering phone. I heard he's going to go back to Australia because I guess the girlfriend or wife, something with, I'm not sure though. It's definitely I'm trying to track that down. That's one of the other thing about that is nobody's talking about it. That's a great question. It's a great question. Nobody's talking about it. You want to talk about here today, gone tomorrow. Nobody's even, so that's definitely something that's on my list to chase down this week, along with the Dylan Cisney stuff, which I'll make that call after. But I know Kinzer does not have a ride here. I know that. I don't expect to see him this year in the States. Dick Jones, Magic 8-ball predictions for victory lanes this weekend. Well, Ryan Hand and I have already made our picks for the podcast. Where? Look, I think Sheldon Hadenshield's going to win a race this weekend. One of the Outlaws races. I think Brad Sweet's going to win at Central Arizona, and I think Aaron Reitzel's going to win at Central Arizona. So those are your 2 high limit. I just think they're Votto watch for Tyler Courtney. He's tested there. That's next Tuesday. So Tyler Courtney probably has more laps there than most of the guys who will be running because he tested there. So I'm thinking Sheldon, Macedo. I'm going to pick against Gravel this week. How's that? And then in Central PA, it's a draw show at the Grove. So whoever draws the front, but Chase Dietz is really good there. If you're looking at Baps on Sunday, Dietrich's really good at Baps. And then it depends on the split at Lincoln and Port Royal, who goes where. I'm going to say Chase Dietz wins one at Port Royal real soon. Last week, after the red flag in the last 9 laps, he went from 8th to 3rd and was coming fast. Tommy Carl, crew chief for Stamen Motorsports, made a couple tweaks. He wouldn't tell me what it was, obviously, but they made some changes and they got a lot quicker. So look for Mackri also to kind of start. If Mackri stays around Central PA, he's going to win some races. They looked really good last week as well. So Randy, will Linton be in the 39 Trone car for more races? Yes, through the early season until Knoxville gets started. John Trone is still dealing with health issues. I saw him at the track at Port Royal. He's actually has color in him. I don't think I'm giving anything away. It's been well documented. He's waiting for a heart. So he's on the list. He had good color. He was getting around. He was smiling, joking around. He was in good spirits. Linton will run the car for a few races before Knoxville kicks off its season. Ed, I cannot believe you don't know all the schedules memorized. You are only human. Don't beat yourself up. Yeah, but I should know that. I should. It's just, I think going to Vegas threw me off. Not because it's Vegas, but because I don't travel a lot after Florida. I kind of settle in Central PA, and I'm not really, and that trip got longer, even just by a day, and then I got back and got sick. So that's on me. No excuse. I should know those. Mike, Lance Deweese, in my opinion, performance of the week in PA on a technical early season Port Royal. What does the rest of his season look like? Sorry, Mackri, expect that from Joe and company. I expect Lance to be better. I like that performance too. Starting 22nd, he was buried in a heat race. And the track was kind of, I don't want to say it was one lane, but it was weird. And you couldn't make up a lot of ground. And they're short heat races. And the rain, the sprinkle that the track got actually helped it. It made it wider. And I think Lance showed in the feature, they dialed in the car a lot better. 22nd to, I believe, 7th, something like that. Yeah, I thought he looked really good. I expect Lance to be better this year. It's funny, when you write Lance Deweese off, that seems to be when he's at his best. Do I think he's gonna do, like when he went from the Dietz car to the Kreitz car, where people were saying he's washed up and then he came out and did that? No, I don't think he's going to do that, but I expect him to have a better year. No, I thought it was a good performance. Performance of the weekend, I'm not going to go that far. I thought Anthony Mackri was really strong, although I don't know if Anthony Mackri wins that race. If it goes green, catching that red helped because Brock Zierfoss's motor just didn't pick up on restarts. They were kind of equal once they got going, but definitely a good performance by Lance. Randy, I haven't heard much from Jacob Allen recently. Is he on vacation or something? He posted a picture recently that said his next race was going to be BAPS. I think, look, I don't think going and running in the blustery wind, cold, he flipped his last time out at Lincoln. I just think Jacob, he's a different kind of cat, kind of a free spirit. I don't think he wants to be tied down to a series. I don't think he wants to. I think he's going to come out when he wants to come out. I do think he's going to run. I know his schedule had over 100 races. I think he runs 75, 80. And, we've had bad weather in Pennsylvania. I don't expect him to go to the West Coast. He's not running high limit. And I don't expect him to tow all the way to Texas when he was in at Lincoln, 2 weeks ago. For him to tow to Texas, I don't think that made sense. I think last week, if the Grove would have run, I think maybe he runs. But Lincoln canceled last week. Port Royal probably just didn't want to go to Port Royal on a windy day. And this week, picture said BAPS Motor Speedway's his next race. I expect him to be at all the BAPS races or most of the BAPS races. And I know he loves the place. Now, because the weather is a little questionable on Sunday, maybe he shows up Saturday or Friday night. Don't know. But no, that's what I know of Jacob. I think it's going to be a moving target with him. I see the Rush 410 Sprint Series are running in Western PA at Knox and Tri-City Raceway Park. I never hear anything about this series. Well, I mean, no offense. I think it's because moving the needle. And I here's the thing. from my standpoint, I'll speak for me. I'll put their results in, but there's so much going on with 2 national series. And now we have expanded regional series with All-Stars Fast, and Fast kind of went up a tick because of last year. And then you have NARC on the West Coast. You have IRA picking up races. You now have Power I. And then you have Central Pennsylvania, which is your local scene. And then you have Knoxville, which, okay, it's the most famous track in the country. You have Houston's weekly. It's just hard to touch on everything. I apologize for that. But no, I know somebody in the western part of the state. They say they put on some pretty decent races. It's just one of those things. It's hard to get coverage everywhere. I'd love to have I have a writer on the West Coast. Joseph Terrell does a really good job on the West Coast for me for SprintCarUnlimited.com. I'm looking for writers in the Midwest, Western PA, Ohio. If anybody's interested, hit me up and we'll get more coverage of that stuff. It's kind of hard to be in all those places. And, but again, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Kokomo Dan, sure wish Dennis Roth would have gotten Caleb Montgomery in the 83 Junior for High Limit this year. He could have made some noise. This is a legit team around him and a top-notch car. Look, I just think Roth, first off, they don't need the money. Okay, let's just be honest. It's Dennis Roth. I just don't think they were in a position, maybe personnel-wise. I know they talked to High Limit. I'm not going to go into the details of that conversation, but they talked to High Limit. I think it was just getting a lot of moving parts, just getting pieces in place. I just don't think Dennis Roth is just going to hire people. Or look, would I like to see Caleb Montgomery in it? Yeah, but does Caleb Montgomery want to go on the road? I don't know. I mean, everybody gets in love with Justin Sanders. Oh, go out on the road. He should be out on the road. Justin Sanders has a job. Justin Sanders makes money at home. He has a family. He's married, a wife. I mean, he has responsibilities. Everybody wants people to kind of live you want their dream to be the same. I think, Brent Ventura went home from the 83 Junior. So there's a reason for that. Could we see another Roth car in the future on the High Limit Tour? Possibly. But I think right now they're down to one car and that's it. I don't know how much TRD came into that as well. So, all right. David, do you think either High Limit or Woo will lose any full-timers throughout this year? I don't think the World of Outlaws will, no. I definitely don't think the World of Outlaws will. I could see High Limit losing 1, 2. I was surprised how well High Limit did last year keeping that roster together. I think the important part, look, they're going to get past this West Coast thing. They're going to start hooking around now, Central Arizona. They'll go to Vado, and then they go back into Texas and up into the Midwest. So the only other hard part of the schedule is after Knoxville when you go to the West Coast and then tow back to Port Royal. Last year, they had all their teams make it. So I think maybe you see 1, 2, maybe. Cy Lynch has busted up some equipment. So I could see that maybe 1 or 2, but Outlaws definitely not. I don't see any of them pulling off, even though there's 15. Maybe a Connor Morrell. I don't know. 1 or 2 at max out of the 29 total national teams. First High Limit versus Outlaws will be Peevely, April 11th. Thank you. And 12th at Knoxville. Marshall, thank you very much. Who goes there? I think you'll see a handful, 3, 4. I don't think you'll see the entire High Limit roster there. So good catch there. I appreciate it. Thank you for contributing. 17 Bez, do you think any Outlaws will show up at the Sunday portion of the Weikert since they're at Sharon that Saturday? If they do, it'll be 1, 2. They're going to have it again. I could see 1 or 2. Yes. I don't think you're going to have like the roster show up because I think it's going to be one of these things too where they tell their roster, okay, let's not have 10 guys show up there. You know, come on, these series they do kind of make these backroom, I don't want to say demands, but they have told their rosters, hey, a few of you want to show up, let's not make it the whole roster showing up. So I think you'll see maybe 2 or 3 max. I could see Gravel doing it. But here's the other thing. Those guys aren't good at Port Royal. The Outlaw guys are not good at Port Royal right now. They're just not. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to save those 4 outside of the Weikert. We'll see. All right. Ken, how many wins will Chase Dietz end up with in 2025? Over, under 12? Woo. I'm going to say under. I'm going to say under. Because if Mackri runs in the area, Dietrich looks good. Last week, Dietrich was into the top 5, and he had something break the shifter. So he's jumping out of gear. So kind of a freak thing. So I think they're going to be split up pretty good. I think Port Royal, I think Logan Wagner is going to get some in the 55 once they get that thing rolling. And again, could depend on how much Macri's around. 12, that's a good over-under number for Chase Dietz. That's a good over-under number. I'm going to say under, but only slightly. I think he could get to 10. All right. We have Mike on line 2. Mike, what do you got for me?
Hi, Jeremy.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm frustrated with everybody not finishing races between fuel and tires. I'm a handicap man. I stay at home and watch them run, and it's just frustrating to me. We talked about the fuel situation last week a little bit. I kind of understand that. I guess I want to talk about tires. Does everybody in post series run the exact same right rear tire every night?
It's a little hard to hear you, but I think you asked, if I'm not mistaken, does everybody in both tours run the same right rear tire? Was that what you were asking?
Yes, they have a mandatory right rear
Yes.
tire.
Okay, now I got you.
All of them are running the same tire.
Yes.
Same compound, same everything.
Well, there's 2, I think there's like 2 choices, but the one's kind of, they're all Hoosier. It's across the board. Nobody has a different set of compounds to choose from, whether it's Central Pennsylvania, High Limit, Outlaws, it's all the same across the board.
Okay. So same brand Hoosier, 2 different compounds.
I think it's 2.
I've heard the same thing, 2 compounds, and 90% of them run the same compound every night.
Yep.
Okay. So the reason they go flat on them is because they ran them too hard. They were overinflated, underinflated, poor tire maintenance, driver error, whatever. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, you could cut a tire on debris. Obviously, at Paris last week, you had to manage them with the rubber. I mean, there's various reasons.
Right. But like the other night when 6 of them run out of right rear before they, shut the thing down, that's crazy to me.
Oh, you mean at Paris?
Yeah.
Well, it was rubbered up. I mean, the track was torched. I mean, if that race goes, probably, I know Reitzel had no tread left in victory lane. So I had a picture sent to me. So if that race probably goes 5 more laps, I don't know if anybody, I don't know who makes it, who doesn't. But look, I mean, you have a rubber race. It's Russian roulette. I mean, you got to nurse your tires.
Okay, duly noted. So as for the fans' best benefit, I don't see as how that's a positive thing. Like at some point into a 40-lap race, a 30-lap race, if you know 20 laps in, hell, we're struggling already, why can't we call an open red with tires?
Well, you're changing the complexion of a race then. See, the problem is, okay, like Las Vegas, for instance, we had the fuel issue. The number was 65. There's a lot of people who are mad that they stopped it at 60 because you set the rule at 65 during the drivers' meeting. I don't think fans like, or I should say the majority of fans don't like when you change rules midstream. You set the rules, that's the way they are, and however it turns out, it turns out. So there's a lot of people who don't like the open red at the Knoxville Nationals with the 2 segments. Now there's people who are okay with it, but so I don't think you want to get into a situation where, look, you got to work on your track. I mean, that's what it comes down to. You got to work on your track. Paris didn't do that. Didn't do a good enough job at that. So you had a tire problem. So the issue is you can't just stop and say, okay, everybody gets to change fresh rubber, change to fresh rubber. It changes the complexion of the race, and it hurts the guys who manage their tires.
I 100% agree with everything you're saying. The night that they changed it to 60 laps, I'm a Donnie Kreitz fan. And I'm like, how the hell can this happen now? Now they're going to say, let's put some friggin' fuel in these things. I totally agree. And I agree. I guess my point is, on some of these, in many more scheduled races, obviously at Volusia for fuel and tires, and at some of these bigger tracks, times are changing. Maybe now we need to go to, you're going to run 40 laps. What did they run the other night when everybody was blowing tires? Was it 40 or 30?
At Vegas?
No.
At Paris, I think it was, I'm trying to remember. I watched it. It was either 25 or 30.
Yes.
I think it was 30.
Tires, right? All right. Well, that's crap for the fan. And you're saying that's because the racetrack didn't take care of the race.
Yeah, I mean, look, it rubbered up 8 to 10 laps into the feature. That's not a tire issue. That's a racetrack issue. That's
right. So a guy, if I was a racer like I'm also a fan of Tanner Holmes. So it seems like every time I'm watching right now, all my favorites
are having flat tires.
Rick Marks, Tanner, whoever's running in Donnie's car. Just seems like I'm losing. My boys are losing all the time right now. So on a track like the other night, when Tanner Holmes blew his tire relatively early, they all started blowing after him. That is theoretically because he used up his tire before he should have.
Well, keep in mind, I'm sure you watched the race, he was pressuring Reitzel.
Yep.
And I think he probably, and I can ask him if he does a podcast. He actually texted me, so I'll know if he's going to be on. But I would say he probably pushed it. I'd say he pushed it. Well, he said, "What time are you thinking?" So I'll have him on and I'll ask him. But I would say he pushed it harder than he probably should have to get by Reitzel. But he was going for the win. Now Reitzel, if you watch Reitzel run that race, kept the car very straight. So
Yeah. I had 10-4. Yep. Yeah, that was an old head versus a young buck. There's no doubt.
So, but that's look. One of the things I think sprint car racing needs to do is stop changing rules midstream. The race fans are going to get what they're going to. Look, the King's Royal, Jason Sides won it. Everybody blew a tire. I mean, it happens. It doesn't happen all the time. We don't get rubber racetracks all the time. So, people get really mad. It's not like High Limit. Like I know somebody said, oh, it's an embarrassment for High Limit. Well, they don't tell the track what to do. The Outlaws, the biggest misconception is the Outlaws come in and tell you what to do with your track. That's not true. They'll make suggestions if they see something, but this group isn't like Ted Johnson.
Right.
So
hold on 1 second. Wait, get up there. Sorry, my dog's a bug.
That's all right.
But so again, I'm frustrated.
Frustrated?
I guess I just need to keep watching the races and yeah. All right. You're the best, Jeremy.
All right. Thanks, man. I pray. Don't be frustrated. It'll be okay.
All right.
All right.
Can I talk about one more thing?
Hurry up. We got to get back to the chat. What's going on?
Yep. Again, I'm a handicap man. We've talked about this before. I struggle so bad at the racetracks not being handicap friendly. I struggle so bad. I want to go so much, but I got to walk a quarter mile to the front gate when I go anywhere.
Where are you located? Where are you from?
I live in New York. I go to BAPS. BAPS is my favorite. BAPS and Lincoln would be my two favorites. Would be the two that I want to get into the most. Here's one I don't understand. I go to BAPS. They got 3 or 4 handicap spots right by the ticket gate, and they have a gazillion saved parking spaces. I get it. Those people paid for those spaces. I get it. Okay, on a given night, why can't a handicapped man park in one of those spaces if they know somebody's not going to be there? It's crazy, I know, and I'm done right now, Jeremy.
Okay. You'll have to take that up with them. I'm not good on the zoning thing, but you have a beef. Look, they got to be handicap accessible. I would agree with that, but anytime you need to talk, I'll help you out. I'll be the therapist for the night. Don't be frustrated. Your guys will win plenty. Trust me. All right, Zachary. Williams Grove just posted an update on Austin. Yes, again, thoughts and prayers out to Austin Hogue. It was not it's again, bad situation. Family does a lot for the area, and we wish the family all the best. John, car counts at Lincoln and Port Royal. Give me 27 and 31. 27 at Lincoln, 31 at Port. That's what I'm thinking. Jacob Horde. How you doing, Jacob? Should I venture to PA this Saturday and Sunday, provided Attica races Friday and doesn't need to use the Saturday rain date? Man, it doesn't look great on Sunday. I would definitely wait to make that decision on Thursday or Friday, because Sunday does not look good, and worse, like Monday doesn't look good. So, it's not like it's going to get here early and be out here. So, again, I would wait till the end of the week. Look, weather can change. So, BAPS is going to give it a go if they can. That I know. But it's 70% day and night. So, we'll see. All right, Randy, I saw used tires are collected at tracks and resold to teams. Yes, big business. Some of these teams claim they flunked tire tests from these tires. Any thoughts on this? Buyer beware. Buyer beware. Look, I have not hid the fact that I think teching is a non-existent process in sprint car racing. I think it's done in certain pockets, or certain times it's done well, and then other times it's not. So things are going to slip through the cracks. So, especially at the local level, I heard there were some tire samples taken recently at a local track in central PA, but it's not done weekly. So, and with the Outlaws and High Limit, look, we've heard some of the teching things there. I think they probably tech better than anyone, but teching in sprint car racing in general, I don't think is that great. I think it could be better. Let's put it that way. And it certainly can be done better at the local level. I do think Knoxville does a decent job at it from what I know. I know for the Nationals, when they rolled through there, they check things. But look, if you're buying somebody else's tires, again, it's buyer beware. You don't know what they're doing to their tires. So you got to take that into consideration. McCain, the 5 car with Brenham Crouch, is it too early to judge? Look, I think they threw him into a meat grinder. I thought that car should be in central Pennsylvania this year and running a schedule much like Brock Zerfoss. I think Brenham Crouch, I don't think we know what we have with Brenham Crouch. He went out and won the IR8 title as a rookie in a 410. I think that's a good accomplishment for a rookie year in a 410. He wins the IR8 title, which, then they threw him to High Limit last year. That was a huge jump. You're going from running IRA to going to run against Brad Sweet, 5-time World of Outlaws champion, Brent Marks, who earned $600,000 2 years before, Rico Abreu, who won over $400,000 last year, Tyler Courtney. That's a big thing to bite off, and he did it in his own team. I think he needs laps. I think he needs to learn to race. Like, I would have loved to have seen Brenham Crouch run a central Pennsylvania heavy schedule with different formats, some handicap shows, time trial shows, learn to race against some decent local competition. That maybe is a step up. You're going to see Mackri, Dietrich, Chase Dietz, I think is really come along, and the general progression, and then move them up. If you want to you can still take them on the road for some shows. Hell, take them to California and let them race. If you're going to be on the road, now that team's based out of Pennsylvania, so that wouldn't make sense. But yeah, I think it's too early to judge. And unfortunately, I believe he's been thrown to the wolves. I hope they give him time to develop. I love what Emerson Axsom's doing. He's running outlaw shows now. He's going to pick and choose. He's going to probably run some local shows. I'm sure he'll be in central Pennsylvania a time or two. He's going to run Knoxville, I'm sure, against that local field. Again, learn to race. There's no expiration date on the Outlaws or High Limit. You can go out anytime. Brenham Crouch is young. So is Emerson Axsom. This every push him out on the road. I just think that's not always the smart play. What else we got? Ken Joseph. Isn't it a little strange that 19-year-old Brenham Crouch is sponsored by Horizon Whiskey? An underage ambassador seems awkward. It's racing, baby. Yes, it does seem awkward for a 19-year-old to wear a whiskey brand across his chest. But as long as he's not drinking it, I guess that's okay. So, there's nothing else I can say about that. Bruce, Danny Dietrich said they don't plan on running the Brad Doty race for the Kings Royal, so they have a break. Is PA racing too long of a season? Yeah, 115 races or whatever number it is. Yeah, it's too long. And I think it wears teams out. I think it wears fans out. I think that's the bigger picture here. I think it wears fans out. I think it hurts. It hurts at the gate in those summer months. Because here's the thing. This sport is now tennis and golf. It's built around the majors. And there's more majors than ever. In Pennsylvania alone, you have 37 to 39 shows of like $10,000 to win or more, or whatever stupid number it is. Fans are going to go to the bigger, high-profile shows. There's 17 sanctioned races here between Outlaws and High Limit. You can't, I mean, there's only so much money. So when you get a show in the middle of July around the King's Royal, when, by the way, you have Pennsylvania people go to the King's Royal, a nothing show in June or July or August, fans aren't going to show up. So I do think it needs to be scaled back. I do think the schedule needs to be smarter. I do think tracks need to work together. I'd like to see an 80-90 race schedule. It's absurd the amount that these teams run in this area. And I do think it takes a toll. You know, it's great for a few teams, but even Dietrich would like a break. So taking off from the Doty makes total sense. John, what do you expect the turnout will be for the Sealands Grove opener going up against the Grove next month? Ooh. 18 cars. I'm going to say 18. They're going to have to depend on guys, that Port Royal contingent maybe to come over. Are teams from, like Dietrich go to Sealands Grove? He has said that. But are teams from south of Harrisburg going to tow past Williams Grove up 11 and 15 on a Friday night? Work rush hour traffic. I don't know. So you're going to have to depend on teams up north. I'm going to say 18 the first, 18 to 20 first night. Is that bad? No, I don't think that's hateful, but I wouldn't run against the Grove. I don't like that especially the first year you're back that after the last regime. If it was next year where you got your feet under you, I would probably like it more. I wouldn't like it, but I would like it more than I do now. All right, Randy, will Gerard be running the 2-car all season at Port? That is going to be, I wrote a story on that. I think it's like 20 to 25 shows. He's going to be going back and forth between the 33 and the 2. So it's whatever Scott Kalman wants to do with that car. I think it'll be mixed and matched. Not really sure what that split's going to be. Gerard, when I wrote the story, did not know exactly what the split was going to be, but you're looking at about 20 to 25 shows in the Kalman car. All right. Do we have anything else? Ken, losing right rear in rubber is nothing new. Been a variable in all classes of dirt racing from the beginning. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when it's a rubber track, you don't want to slip. You don't want to push it too hard. You gotta nurse your rubber to the end. Yep. So, all right. Little racer. Paris is known to take rubber. Yes, it is. Go back and listen to DJ Neto and Aaron Reitzel's interviews. No surprise to anyone that it took rubber. Agreed. Nothing else to say about that. Pursley and Baston won't finish the season in the 13 and the 14. Ooh. I'm going to say, ooh. Bold. I think Baston will finish. I think Pursley will finish. If anybody, I don't know. I think they'll both finish. But out of the two, I'd say Baston probably most solid, or the more solid of the two. Pursley's still wing. I don't know how you can get rid of either of them at this point, unless you put Zeb in it. But I don't know. Pursley's just coming over from the non-wing ranks. I don't know how you can. You threw him to the Wolves in high limit. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, those crashes weren't all his fault. Baston's had a terrible start. Jason Myers is pretty loyal, I think, and I know he likes Baston, so I don't know. I think they both finish. I think they'll turn things around. I think it's a small sample size. Zeb Wise, big fan. Jeremy Schefter. I don't know about that. Roman on line 3. Roman, what do you got?
Yeah, I'd like to agree with you a little bit about, some of the young guys and racing local versus, trying the tours right away. I've really seen Emerson progress nicely with Knoxville and Chase Randall. They've really, done well with their craft by, racing in the Midwest. You got a half mile at Knoxville. You got 3/8 at Husitz, and throw Jackson in there at 4/10. Those different tracks really give you some good skills.
Yep.
And so, that's where some of these young guys can really, work on that. Also like to mention, these fuel cells, I don't have a lot of sympathy for these guys running out when they're running 28-gallon fuel cells.
You're not the only one.
When 33-gallon cells are there, and you're rolling the dice. I understand it definitely affects the handling of the car, but you're rolling the dice, and especially when you're points racing, you can't do it. Can't risk it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's some teams are more comfortable with the 28-gallon fuel cell for setup reasons. Ryan Hand, my podcast partner, we talked about it on the podcast this week. It'll be released probably tomorrow. We talked about it, and I defer to him. I never set up a sprint car, so I'm not going to pretend like I have. It's team preference. And I think Ryan basically said, if you're comfortable with a 28-gallon fuel cell, with the setup of your car, it's a choice. You'll sacrifice and you'll roll the dice for car performance. So
right.
Do I have sympathy? Well, I don't really have sympathy. It's a choice. Right. But I understand the choice too. I understand why teams do it. So, now I don't know where the bladders come in, the new bladders, the thicker bladders. That's an issue that maybe needs looked at. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but you know what? I don't think we're going to have a rash of people running out all year. I do think the series set the laps too high. And again, it was just unfortunate, and we'll move on.
Right. With the low temperatures,
yeah,
that the cars are burning lots of fuel.
Yep.
And it is what it is. Just one more thing: often imitated, never duplicated. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yep, no problem. Thank you. Okay. What do we got? Al, I think Caleb, M. Sanders, or Galbic would all be better picking the 5 car. Yeah, but again, Galbic has his business. Sanders has a business, and I don't know what Caleb Montgomery's work situation is. But again, would they want to go out? Is that a life they want? Sanders is early 30s. I don't, and Golubic has, what is it? I forget what business he's in. He does the same thing I think Clyde Knipp does with the bodies and stuff. So I just don't, it's not what they want to do. So it's not even an option. Randy, do you sell merchandise, Jeremy? I do not. I've thought about it, and maybe I should. It's just an extra thing on top of doing the website, the pay-per-views, the YouTube stuff. I just haven't gotten into it. I probably should do it. Maybe I will in the future. If there's enough demand, I'll do it. I wouldn't know what to put on it though. Al, what's up with the Rudine Racing 26? Is the Ford holding them back? Well, they had a Chevy into one night, and I don't think they did a lot better. I just think they're struggling. Look, there's a lot of teams struggling. You know, High Limit, there's only one other regular, High Limit regular that has 2 top 5s in 4 races, and that's Brent Marks. So I think teams are struggling out of the gate, and it just takes some time to get going. Look, the 26 has not looked good. They're almost running to B main every night, and and Justin Peck has to pass a lot of cars. I don't know what the Ford. Nobody complained about it last year at World Finals. He ran well. So Kerry Madsen ran well in it. Now he's a gasser, but what I'm getting at is Kerry Madsen gasses it, Justin Peck gasses it. So theoretically, I don't know. Do I think the Ford maybe hurts Donnie? I think it hurts Donnie more than it would hurt somebody else because Donnie is a different driver. He drives differently. But I don't know. They had a Chevy in it. They didn't do a lot better. So I just think they're struggling right now like a lot of teams are. I jumped the cushion. Has Brent Marks figured out the West Coast? I don't know if he's figured out the West Coast, but I expect Brent Marks to have a better year this year. I think, Brent Marks took a lot of heat for his Facebook post last year. And I don't understand why, if you speak your mind, you get crushed. But I think people forget they lost a key member of their team for an extended period of time last year. That was a curveball. And first time, Brent was traveling with a national series in 6 years, 7 years. He earned a franchise. So I think Brent Marks is fine. I think he's going to have a better year this year. I think he's getting off to a better start. So I don't want to say he's figured out the West Coast. I just think they're running better. I think, he's the only other regular who has 2 top 5s. And he's close to Brad Sweet as far as consistency. Now, Tyler Courtney's ahead of him in the point standings, but again, Brent Marks will have a better year this year. All right, Ed, your logo is amazing and will look good on merch. Yeah, again, if there's a demand for it, I don't mind doing merchandise. But I'll be honest, I'm a little bit of I'm a little hesitant because I don't want to, because you have to outlay money for that up front. And I worry that I get stuck with it then. So I'm hesitant, a big baby on that. So if I knew there was demand, I'd do it. PA needs the revolving weekly series, one big point fund involving all the tracks, good for fans and tracks. I agree. I'd like to see 20, 25 races at the Grove. I'd like to see 20 at Lincoln and Port each and alternate. I'd like to see BAPS with 10 to 12. And then you can fill in with the other ones, and you're looking at 90 races. You'll be cutting 25 races off. So you can incorporate the Hosehead series into it with all the point titles, but you got to figure out a way to do it where the teams who win the money aren't just the ones running the most races. I think you'd have to designate certain races as your point races because you can't just give it to the team who runs the most races. That serves no point to me. All right, Jordan, have a live show with Broke Joe. Oh, I talked to Joe a good amount, and there's a lot of discussions that I would like to have on air, and it's not just about racing. He's an interesting guy. I think he has a good philosophy on a lot of things. So, always like Joe. I don't call him Broke Joe. Broke Joe's not my deal. That's Chaz's. T-Mez running at Knoxville in a wing car. Yeah, how about that? That'll be interesting to see how that goes. Big track. To me, it would be something that would be better on a small track. But hey, you know what? I think you're going to see more non-wing guys leaving the non-wing ranks. Brady Bacon's going to run more wing races. Persley's left. Wyndham's gone. Kevin Thomas tried to leave. Now he's back, but it's just money. It's a money decision. And considering what Knoxville is paying weekly, it makes all the sense in the world for T-Mez to do that. All right. Got a couple more. Pat, Corey Day running the second Myers car is the worst thing that can happen to Baston. Day can make a wheelbarrow be fast. Yeah, thinking about it, Greg Hodnett used to say you don't want to get beat by your own stuff. You do the math on that one. But I don't know if, I think everybody knows who Corey Day is and how good he is. And I'm not saying Baston can't drive. That's not what I'm saying. It is an awkward situation, but look, that's where you need a strong team owner who lays down the expectations and kind of how things are going to work. That's one where you test the person running the teams. If management's good, it'll work. If it's not, it won't. So that's kind of how I view that. All right, Ken, will we still be talking about the redundant, monotonous work area come September? Yeah, I want it gone. I hate it. I've had enough of it. The only compromise I'll make is if it's a tire, but it's building a car and then just the excessive laps. And then if you have and it doesn't come into play every race, but look, baseball shortening games, college football shorten their game with the running clock like the NFL. Look, people's attention spans are getting smaller. And after you see an axle change for the 55th time, is it really that big of a deal that you see it again? Not to me, but maybe I'm different. But maybe a tire, that's it. Something quick. I'm over the work area. I just am. But I think that's our last question. Again, thank you to everybody for joining the show. I appreciate everybody in the chat, all the phone calls. And stay tuned to SprintCarUnlimited.com all week. We'll have plenty of content leading up to the weekend. And we'll be back next Tuesday with another show. Stay tuned.